What is up, folks? Are you ready for an uplifting episode where two people actually try to use AI with intentionality and not like many of the other corporations you're seeing out there on LinkedIn? If you want to see some intentional AI use live on this episode, you are in the right place. That's right. It's the High Tech Podcast. What is up, folks? Welcome to the High Tech Podcast. That's right. It's that time of the week where we look at technology and you hear from me and the slightly less bearded but bearded co-host, Will Illingworth. What's up, buddy?
This beardism has to stop, okay? So this literally, I think this has come across like 2 or 3 episodes at this point where you're like coming at my smaller beard, which I still haven't shaved since the last time we talked about it.
AI tool that does chapters for videos may have this week actually pulled out a chapter called Will's Beard. I forget the exact title, but there was a chapter about the beard. I kind of forgot that I made a joke about it. Yeah. Listen, I don't have a lot of things on you, man. You know, you're like a martial artist. You're smart. You're funny. You know, you got that look.
Wait. Say more.
Say more, you know? So the one thing I got on you is the beard.
You've got a fantastic beard, my friend. But I've already told you, this is it. It's not going
I still think it's like, listen, if you let it go just a little bit longer, you and I can go to Ellicott Co. together and buy beard stuff. Like
I have beard oil. Eric made me beard oil.
Oh, he did? Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's cute that you think you need it with that size, but it's fine.
So, about that opener we haven't done.
Yes, all right. So, welcome, folks. High Tech Podcast, where we sometimes go off trail, especially now that we have an avenue to put that in so we don't have to put it on the live episode that you all hear. Anyway, welcome to the High Tech Podcast. Again, I'm Josh. This is Will, my co-host on the High Tech Podcast. Before we jump into things this week, just a reminder, you can find us online, all socials, at High Tech Podcast or at High Tech Pod. If you're not sure which one it is, try both. It's fun. We realized last week we have a TikTok and a whole bunch of stuff. We kind of forgot about that. So thank you, Chris, for helping us manage that. Make sure to go check that out if you would like. So you can also email us at inbox at hightechpod.us if you're like, man, this whole robot bar thing was kind of obnoxious that you guys talked about. That would be, you know, you can let us know. Inbox at hightechpod.us, and you can also go check out our website, hightechpod.us, where we put links and fun things that we talk about all the time, mainly depending on how Will and I are feeling, how motivated we are that week to put stuff on the website. So that's a real thing. Anyway, this week we're gonna be doing something fun, which is being intentional with AI, which I gotta admit, as somebody who likes to use AI, and we talk about AI pretty much all the time on the podcast. Again, if you don't want us to, stop listening to it. Right now, they are definitely our most listened to episodes, which is why we keep talking about AI. And because Will and I are constantly, we're becoming the AI people at our places, so like it's easy for us to talk about this. That said, Will, I don't know about you, man, but I see a lot of really dumb plans for implementing AI on LinkedIn. Like I'm pretty sure LinkedIn is becoming 50% over promotion and 50% opinions about AI. Like, that's basically my take on LinkedIn right now. And I'm seeing a lot of plans that involve like, hey, track how many hours you're using AI. Hey, just use AI. Hey, people below me, figure out how to use AI. Hey, use AI. Those are like the plans.
It's like the most part. It's like that meme with the meerkat that just says, hey, Ellen,
hey, we should use it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you shared with me, though, an interesting story about your new employer, which we won't give over amount of details because we're careful about that on the podcast. But your new employer did something really interesting with you that you thought was really helpful, that you'd like to talk about. Those of you who are listening who might be thinking about how to implement AI, where to start, what to do, beyond experimenting, which we've already talked a lot about on this podcast. How do you strategically and intentionally integrate AI into what you do at work? And I think there's a lot of ways you can do that, but you experienced something very interesting in your employer that we both agreed we thought was actually a really good use case and plan for engaging with AI in your environment. So what was that?
Yeah, a brief amount of context, right? So my former employer, about 1,000 employees, had been digging into AI for several years. We had built some AI enablement. We had a number of different AI tools. We had a register of AI tools, so you could submit and you could approve, and then if you needed to use lots of rigid and formal structure. Never.
Should I also pause for just 1 second? I was in a meeting with somebody and they said the words AI enablement at least 13 times. Okay. And I'd like to get this hot take out here right now. Can we just stop calling it that? Like it's just using a tool. Okay. You're not not enabling. Just use it. Sorry. I'm really just over corporate fancy words for things. That's
it.
Like just use the tool. It's sorry.
I had never.
There's other stuff you should do to strategically jump into it. I'm not saying you don't do that stuff, obviously, but
I had never heard the word enablement until I went to corporate. Right? Like I literally, it was 2021 before I'd ever heard the word enablement in my life. Right? I've heard enable someone, but enablement is a big buzzword. It's an expensive word in corporate. It means you're going to spend at least 6 figures on the software or a learning package,
which is why just hot take all this stuff is stupid, because we hide real actions behind fancy words.
Remember, like former employer. Ba-dum.
Yes. Ba-dum. This is why people don't know what to do, because we just use lots of crazy words and we don't actually know what that means.
That's part of it, right? Like that's part of the larger context. So that was the former job. That was the big folks, big company, bigger company. Current employer is about 50 people. It's an agency. It's much smaller. It's been a really great change for me, great fit, but they don't have the same structures. They don't have the same resources for AI and AI support and AI enablement. So one of the things that was really, really cool about joining this company when I did is that they had already planned a week-long event in the UK. Darn, I had to go there.
Such a rough life.
It's really, really tough. For like an annual, all hands. Like everybody's coming together. We're going to talk about different business initiatives. We're going to do a project. All really, really cool event. But during that, specifically, one section was on AI. And the CEO set it up in such a sense that we were going to discuss AI at the business, going to look backwards, look forwards. But the big takeaway, which I really, 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 really appreciated, was he wanted us to all buy into and participate in creating an AI mission statement for the company. And when you think about mission statements, you think about visions, you think about values, the corporate-ness of all that junk, I'm not a big fan. I'll just be transparent. Like mission, vision, values, I think it can be helpful. I think a lot of times, and unfortunately I'll put it in this context, again, former employer, I think I survived 3 different sets of values in 5 years. Like we don't need to do this all the time, folks. In fact, if you are constantly redoing your mission, vision, and values, I think you have not done them effectively enough, or you are subject to a board that's really trying to jerk you around. Anyways.
Well, I also, here's let's just get to this hot take for a second, because there's a lot of people, I can see even people on my team already rolling eyes about mission value stuff, because there's those of us who end up being in the scenarios, we like getting things done. We also kind of tend to not always love these things. I personally don't dislike them. I think the problem is they're done poorly in the way Will's talking about, right? Which is it's okay, we're gonna create these missions, these values, these statements, right? And then they last for a couple of years, and then we change them again. At the end of the day, core values and mission should be so, in my opinion, this is the Josh Schwartz opinion, should be so enduring and evergreen that they shouldn't have to change for a long time. People, I think, confuse. No, go ahead.
And when folks are tempted to change them, I think that is the flag that should be thrown on the field to say, no, we don't change the mission to address 1 or 2 things in the business. If we're doing that, that's called scope creep. But what I like about that approach was we as a business were wrestling with it. So instead of saying as a CEO or as a business, this is how we're going to do AI, fall in line, the leadership approach was we need to determine how we as a company want to use this tool, because our offering is service and our offering is content. So in the context of service, it makes a lot of sense that we might use AI to make our service more effective. But in the place of content, there is some appropriate pushback is to say, maybe we're not going to use AI to deliver content or create content. Now, that's not what we landed on. I'm not going to go into that detail about what we did land on. But these questions and these wrestling points necessitated an AI mission statement, something that could bring the team together, coalesce the company opinion on it, and help us take the next step forward. Now, that's not to say that there was a declaration of artificial intelligence and 50-some employees all got pens out and we all signed our John Hancocks. Right?
Wasn't a manifesto.
It wasn't a manifesto. It wasn't a declaration. It wasn't a democratic process. But what we did do, which I think the process is helpful to reveal here, because I think it's a little bit of what Josh and I are going to sort of practice. It's about 50 people, about 6 tables. Each table was told to write their 1-sentence, 2-sentence AI mission statement. And then once all those statements were written, the CEO stood up at the front of the room with a whiteboard and would ask one table to read. And so as we read our mission statement, he would write down themes. And as the next one did it, he'd write down themes. And if there was theme overlap, he'd either do hash marks or he'd write like a word that modified the theme that already, you know what I mean? Like he coalesced all the thoughts in the room. And by the end of it, and to step back 1 second, the only prompt we were given was, we as a company will do ... by ... right? So that was the only format that we were driven to or encouraged to use. Like, we will do something by doing it this way, right? And so those were the 6 statements that came up. It's like Josh and will integrate AI into their work practices by using it to edit, produce, and something else, right? Like that'd be a very
so the buy wasn't necessarily like a goal, like deadline. It was a
correct, not a due date.
It was
how
okay.
how we will.
It was a how thing. Okay,
yeah. And so we did 6 of those, coalesced all the themes onto a board, and as we went around, he continued to get buy-in. You know, we'd put themes on the board. He's like, "Is that the theme? I've written this word, but does that theme actually come from what you're saying?" And he would let us either question it or agree. Yeah, that word really captured the theme of what we were saying. Great, cool. And he'd move on, did it with all 6 tables. And then as a room, we went over it. We added 1 or 2 thoughts. We pulled some of the bigger, it's like a word cloud. We pulled some of the little words into bigger words. And suddenly we had, let's say, 6 or 7 big themes on the board. And he said, okay, do we all agree to this? And I really give him a lot of props as a leader for taking the time, making himself accessible in the room for this. We have a really, I think, strong culture of that in my employer. But the opportunity was then given to folks saying, is there any theme we missed? Or do you really want to fight anything that's on this board? And that was an open invitation. No one did. This doesn't mean that 50 out of 50 people were 100% satisfied.
Yeah, I was going to say, probably in that type of room, there's going to be a handful of people that aren't comfortable bringing up their pushback in spaces.
He took all of our sentences, so we all handed that in. He took all the themes that night by himself, and the next morning, he wrote up a mission statement. He brought it to the team the next day and said, here's what I've written. This is how I've coalesced what you all gave me. Here's the sentence. Again, another chance. Do we agree? Do we disagree? The room ratified it, and we are moving forward with our AI mission statement. And that AI mission statement, I will reveal briefly, starts with, we will be human first. Like, I really, really appreciate that as a group.
I like that idea.
And as a company, we stood by the fact that whatever comes out of our AI efforts starts first from being a human-centered approach. And so, not that Josh and I have 48 other people to talk this through with, and we're going to throw themes up on the whiteboard. I don't say we couldn't put a little whiteboard together and do some
I mean, we could. But I think for the help here, I do want to talk about here a second some of the themes that you saw come out and how it should impact how just your thoughts. We can talk about that in a second, but I want to highlight something for a reason why we're talking about this on the podcast, right? Not just because it's a fun idea and we want to make a mission statement. I'll be honest, it's a little late for Will and I to make a mission statement because we've kind of been already using the crap out of AI. I think it's a helpful thing, and it will actually probably, I think what'll be really interesting as Will and I try to do it on this episode is it'll probably highlight some of the things that Will and I care about in this usage that we've not intentionally labeled as a podcast / organization what we're doing.
Hey, folks, we know you were in the middle of just the best episode of the High Tech Podcast ever, but if you like this episode and everything we're producing, make sure to join the High Tech Club. It's a low monthly cost. We're not going to tell you what it is at the moment because who knows, it could change, but it's a low cost, and everything you give to the podcast helps us produce it, whether it's subscription costs or hardware, things that help us make this happen. So, you want to be a participant, head over to hightechpod.us. You can get quick and easy access links to our subscription model and join the club, which gives you tons of fun benefits, like no more of these ads. Very simple. More of our faces.
Yeah.
Uncut Josh, right? You're going to get all the crazy things he says all the time.
Yeah. You guys should, like, the last 5 years, folks, I've been saying a lot of stuff you haven't heard. So if you want to hear it, become a club member and you can hear that. That seems like a win to me. And if you want to dictate what we talk about on the podcast, you can do that as a High Tech Club member.
You'll be able to vote.
You'll be able to vote on topic ideas. So, yeah, make sure to become a club member. I think that'd be super cool.
We'd really appreciate that.
Okay. We're gonna hold you hostage here for a while until you do. No, I'm just joking. On to our regular scheduled conversation, whatever the heck we were talking about. I'm sure it was great.
It was great.
Yeah.
Back to it.
But why I think this is important, I want to come back to this point. Will and I both are people who use AI and encourage people to use AI. To a certain degree. Some of us have tin hats depending on what we're talking about. But for the most part, we're in that space, right? We've both become seen at our work areas as one of those AI guys in some form or fashion, right? And I think Will and I in general, in the spaces we're in, with to the degree of leadership we're given to do this, I think are fairly effective at this in some ways, right? We have a lot of room to grow. Like this idea, I kind of wish I had started with this in some case with my team in some ways. We kind of did something similar, but it was a little bit different. We did guidelines and procedures, but within those guidelines and procedures, we built them around this like structure of like a framework. Like I've handled this in like a framework mentality, right? And so like the way we did that with our team was we were going to take a posture of inviting AI into the work that we had. We were going to take a posture of making sure humans were always in the loop at key points. We were going to take a posture of always evaluating and carefully incorporating our work into it. And there was also going to be this posture of iterating what we do, like always looking to improve and treating the AI today is the worst AI we've ever interacted with. So these kind of postures. And I think that was super helpful. But the reason I'm bringing all of this up is because I can't say this more emphatically than what I'm going to say right now. Okay. There are a lot of really unintentional and stupid AI initiatives happening around this country, or the world in general. Right. And like, I'll call out specific ones like Oracle, Facebook. Let's see. Like, who else do I just want to go after at this point? Microsoft is doing it probably one of the poorest in some ways. They're getting better now.
Sucks.
Let's just like, and I'm not even talking about the companies implementing the AI. I'm talking about the companies that are using the AI tools. And here's why. I don't think any of them have slowed down for a hot second to ask why they're doing what they're doing. If we're being honest, there's a ton of organizations out there that are implementing AI simply because it's there and because it's a disruptor in what they're doing. And with all due respect, that's not a good enough reason to implement AI. If you're not intentional behind the why you're doing it, you're going to lose sight of what you're doing. And it's just going to be becoming about these stupid of initiatives that I'm seeing at places that literally are telling their employees that their key performance indicator related to AI is how many hours they used AI that week. Like, give me a break. This is so dumb. Like, you need to have intentionality behind this, right? Like, it's so important behind what we're doing. Because we're all like jumping at AI. Like, if we don't implement it tomorrow, we're going to be behind. Are you kidding me? Most of the world, even the tools releasing it, don't even know what it's doing. It'll be fine. Like, take some intentionality, slow down, and make sure you understand the why behind what you're doing with AI so that you can be intentional about the use, so that you can be careful about the use.
Now, one of the things that I think is a lot of fun about the activity itself, like Josh and I aren't necessarily going to write this very moment, but one of the things that we need to drive towards when having this conversation is, what are those themes, right? We were saying things like, we don't want to use generative AI for logos, but we do want to use Gemini gems to create code for us, right? Like, we were looking at the very specific things as we were having those conversations as a team. But what are the real themes that we want to go in there? So, I wrote a bunch there in our show notes, but I don't think we need to just drive to those specifically. One of the themes for me, and I already mentioned it, I feel like we can even just go a few back and forth. One of them for me is human-centered, right? Like, we aren't trying to use this tool. We aren't trying to use AI to pull humans out of the loop. And for me, that's a very important.
Speak for yourself. At the High Tech Podcast, I'm 100% trying to get to the point where we're just like not in the loop at all. That feels
guys. If you ever see an episode of the High Tech Podcast where all I do is agree with Josh, I am an agent. He rebuilt me as an avatar, and he's just running the podcast with an agreeable version of me.
The end of the day, that's my end goal with AI, is just to get 100% agreeable Will. That's the vibe that I'm aiming for.
To run the podcast nice.
Yeah, just run the podcast that way. That seems clearly the target.
Yeah, but I think we both agree.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
I think it's a lot of folks' big concern, but I feel if you start with that foundation, it's a pretty strong theme to start with. Like, let's not forget that the human's important. Let's not forget that we create. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget that we imagine. Whereas AI is just a statistical analysis. It's a statistical correlation, folks. Mm-hmm. There's no soul. So starting there is a really big, important part of the theme for me.
And I think it highlights the important element of it, right? It's the end goal is not just a more efficient robot thing. It's the end goal is the human being able to do something they weren't able to do before, or do something in better form. And honestly, these are centered themes that maybe OpenAI and a few of their companies could actually start to gather themselves, because sometimes it feels like that's not in the tool itself, right? Like we're almost building a thing that's supposed to get rid of humans. And so I think having that human-centeredness is important to what we do. As other terminologies have used, like human in the loop is another terminology that gets thrown around a lot in this area, which is coming from like data and automation stuff. So
human-centered, humanity, human in the loop, thought leaders, humans who thought leaders. A couple of these, it all wraps to me in just the emphasis of humanity, the person being present. Because I could write up, and we did in the practice. We had people making a whole thing about augmentation. And there was a conversation like, well, are the tools working in parallel to us? No, we really didn't want to, because at some level, that's what some folks believe agents will do. But we didn't want to commit to parallel work, because at the end of the day, we still know that the agent, even if it's working while we're working, let's say temporally, like in time, it relies on us to have initiated it, and it relies on us to check it, and it relies on us to go validate the product, right? Like there's so much even of agents that can work in parallel to us or in tandem with us, that we are still the thought leader with an agent. An agent should not be free. Now, there's people who disagree, but I think that this was a reason that we, and I believe in this human-centeredness, to focus on that, and to put agents in their right place, and to put just regular LLMs in their right place. Like, I think that there's a necessary subjugation of the technology tools to the human that this kind of mission or this theme really starts to help with.
Yeah, no, and that's, again, I think that's the point. It drives how you look at stuff, right? I've been literally in conferences with people talking about how they're trying to take their team members and turn them into agent runners, so that agents just go off and do the job. Like, that's not a human-centered way of viewing this, right? But as opposed to what Will's talking about, where the agents are kind of being an extra tool in the toolbox of the human in the process to help them expand their reach or work in a way that they wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. So I agree. So human-centeredness, what other key themes were popping up as you guys were talking through stuff that you think are worth noting here?
There was a big emphasis on kind of the relationship efficiency and excellence, right? So excellence being that we as humans would drive to do something amazing, and so we don't want that quality level to change. At the same time, we're what we are hoping the AI gives us is efficiency, is a speed or a reduction in effort to get there. So you could probably write them up separately, but I do like the relationship to see them together. I don't know what your thoughts are. Would you want to separate those as a theme, or
we were developing a mission statement, but we were working on our next year goals, right? And one of our goals on our team is thinking through how agentic AI or other similar tools can help our team, right? And I was very intentional. At one point, somebody on our team had asked, should we only use the word efficiency or use the word excellence? Like, are those basically kind of the same thing? And I was like, no, they're not the same thing, right? Like, efficiency is doing something faster or stewarding your resources. Efficiency is not always faster. Sometimes it's just doing something better with the resources you have, not using up as much resources as you would normally to do something. You know what I mean? Efficiency can be that element, but the excellent side of it is not just doing that. It's that at the end of the day, the end result is better than what it would have been, right? And I think those two things being separately balanced is important, because especially in the AI conversation, I see way more of a highlight on efficiency, right? How can we outsource as much as possible to AI to get better? But at the end of the day, what's the point of doing that? If we don't balance that with excellence, what we're going to end up doing is doing what we always do when we release technology, which is just making our lives more complicated, because now no longer does it make it easier for us to do the work. We can just do more work. So we'll just keep doing more and more and more. But the goal shouldn't be to just be doing more. It should be to be doing more of good, the better, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was recently working on with this gigantic project plan, ironically, about how we're implementing AI. And so it was great. We got a lot of details for these 3 different initiatives we're doing. Really good stuff. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think it fits kind of what we're looking for. We'd kind of defined the value we wanted out of each one and then built from there. And so that was really good. But at the end of the day, it's 14 pages long. It's essentially 3 different projects in one area, right? And so I need a way to communicate this to senior leaders in a way that, quite frankly, is going to be digestible. That's not going to happen if I give them these 14 pages, right? So a great AI use case, right, is I could spend forever figuring out how I'm going to distill all that information down into basically what my goal was, which was 1 page. Or I can go to AI, in this case Claude, put it all in there and say, hey, this is what I want. I want a 1 page with a table that does this, that aligns the solution, the problem, solution, and value to the major initiative and the effort that's going to be needed to do it. These are the things that they're going to care about, right? So align this on the table, and then the only other thing they're going to care about is big picture, when is this happening and what big phases are happening. So is there any way we could do a graphic or a timeline at the bottom of the page? Split the page in half, make it wide, do this dynamic, right? If I did that myself, that would have taken hours. I would have had to look through all 14 pages, distill down the common themes, get all the stuff down, try to figure out what's common across these boards, and then let alone try to build a graphically appealing timeline that fits into Microsoft Word. Okay. Right. I threw AI on it. Okay. That task would take me hours, took 20 minutes. And it created a single page. Will, this is possibly one of the nicest distilled things I've ever made.
Amazing.
Right? And I made some edits to it. I told it okay, this wasn't quite what, or this is kind of misrepresentative, or we want to make sure this is here. Right? And this 1 page distills down 14 pages worth of details in a way that would have just been impossible to do on my own. Right? And again, this is a scenario where, again, the human's driving the direction, but this is about efficiency, but also excellence. It's about doing something better than I would have done on my own. Yeah. To get us somewhere better, ultimately, at the end of the day, right? And so these are all key pieces for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I think that overall, what we're seeing in our day to day and how Josh and I are trying to influence and impact our communities around this is why this is so important to us. There's no way, even in an hour-long podcast episode, we are gonna get through all the stories, the examples, the themes. And then negotiate it and get through this. But I feel like it's safe to say, with some of this conversation we're doing, similar is something you should consider and you should do. But we've landed on, at least in 15 minutes here, AI and its use should be human-centered. It should drive for efficiency. It should drive for excellence. And there's a balance of those things. If we were to put that into a sentence, and I'm not saying, please don't say this is the polished and completed mission, AI mission statement is not necessarily the endorsed high-tech podcast. AI statement. Josh says it's kind of good. That's pretty encouraging. But here's what it is, right? After we've just done this little exercise, we at the High Tech Podcast believe that humans should be the leaders and drivers of AI so that we can deliver excellent products through efficient processes. And I did it in that order for a reason, right? Humans came first, AI came second, excellent products came first, processes came second. And that's, there's definitely people who would debate the product versus process. That's perfectly fine. This is a little bit of my values. But here we have something. And Josh and I, if we want to work with this, and this wants to be a part of what we actually approach the podcast for, we can negotiate this. We can work this out. We could add this. It could become a paragraph. It could be a sentence with value. However you want to use it, folks, use it. But here you go. In 50 minutes of this full runtime currently, we have something we can start to work with. And it could really help us pen in our approach to AI. Now, if we're actually going to apply this to the podcast, it should probably consider things like editing our scripts, the narrative we're trying to accomplish, what we want our audience to feel, right? Like there's some different things that would need to be here for the High Tech Podcast's AI mission statement. But just saying, Josh and I, we believe these things. It's pretty solid.
This is fairly broad, right? In this area, probably where I would tweak it if it was for the podcast is like, okay, maybe use better wording for products. What does that mean, right? Would be the one thing I would do. But I like the order of which you put stuff in, right? Because immediate application of how this drives, whether Will and I stated this or not, right? This is at the end of the day what Will and I have been trying to do with AI at the podcast. It drives the decisions we make, right? So, for instance, Will and I don't use AI to generate podcast content. We're not fans of that.
Until next week, maybe.
Well, until next week, but that's a different thing.
As an experiment.
It's an experiment. We're not like creating a podcast to deliver to you with AI, right?
Right.
But we use AI to do certain things in the podcast to be more efficient so we can deliver excellent stuff. For instance, Will uses it for clipping because we don't have time to spend hours looking at clips, but we know clips are helpful. It helps people get engaged with the podcast. It can deliver good, clear points. And so we use AI in that space, right? I use AI for generating descriptions and chapters and things. These are all things just to deliver a better end video to you that's a little bit more coherent. But like, it's not changing the substance of our content, right? Will and I have used AI a couple times as I've kind of termed it, like AI podcast producer, which is like, we have an idea, but we need to like get it more narrowed down to kind of a format and outline that's going to work. And it's based on some of our stuff that we know works.
Yeah.
We drove it. We defined what excellence looks like to that tool. That tool just helps us more quickly get to ideas in a way that makes sure you're getting more focused. Well, sometimes more focused podcast content. At least if you're listening to the shorter version of this episode, you're getting more focused podcast content. So again, this drives the way we look at AI. I would encourage you, if you're looking to start engaging with AI in whatever form or fashion that is, slow down and define your why, right? So if you're listening to this, you do one thing. Please don't waste your team's or your time by just jumping in. Define what's important first, then jump in. And you'll be able to navigate those waters a lot better than if you just swim randomly. So there you go. That's my TED Talk. That's the vibes.
Thanks. I mean, it's sometimes Josh and I play with ideas all the time. Like we've got a ton of ideas that are sitting on the episode board that maybe never see the light of day. But this is one of the ones that like I dropped in and we both went, yeah, let's have this chat. And I think that as we're talking about the functional stuff we do and try Claude this and do agents that and browsers, blah, 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 blah. Come back to this one. I really, really do hope you spend some time with this. Try it out yourself. Try it with your team. Share this to others who might need it. Encourage others to slow down and consider what needs to be done with AI, because this is an important step to make sure we survive the next 5 and 10 years of the tool's development. So that's it, folks. That's another wrap on another episode of the High Tech Podcast. Until we get back to more of the regular shenanigans, we will continue empowering minds,
embracing tech.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Buckle up, let's ride the wave. Future's